Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is, wherever you are, welcome to the Good Values podcast. This week, I'm interviewing someone who I met through, when I interviewed Alex Castaneda. I also did a separate series where I interviewed two artists at once. I did Peter Draws or Peter Deligdish and Scott Teplin. I've interviewed John Mahoney and Gracina Samosir. And I've also interviewed Alex Castaneda, and his second artist to be interviewed with him was the artist I am interviewing solo today. And I had met him for the first time there. He was a fantastic person and artist. He was really great at explaining things. He's very passionate, really funny. And I just appreciate how he explains his process, what's important, different ways of learning. Great person to talk to. And I'm also working with him on a project for the near future, so look forward to that. So my guest this week is Alberto Ruiz. So could you introduce yourself for the audience, please?
Yeah, my name is Alberto Ruiz. Ruiz in the Spanish way, we'd say will roll our R, so it will be Ruiz. Ruiz, and we have a whole bunch of names after that, which I'm not going to get into, but I'm an artist and I do figure drawing, which is my passion. I used to be a graphic designer and sculptor and all kinds of things, but mainly I focus now on teaching figure drawing, teaching anatomy for artists, and practicing whenever I get a chance to draw. That's what I'll do.
So how long has it been that you've had a concentrated focus on figure drawing?
Basically, always have the itch to do it, but I wasn't any good. Obviously, I didn't study formal. There was no formal training for me. But at the age of 40, I realized that there was not much time left to start. So I decided to take it seriously and sort of teach myself. You know, the internet was already viable, and why not? You know, there was no impediments really. All the information is out there. So I decided to seek it and to better myself.
And it's become, though, most of what you do is the figure drawing, isn't it? Is the teaching and the figure drawing kind of concentrated on that more than other thing? Has that been since like a certain age, though? Was that a point in your life where you said, this is now the sole focus of my practice?
Yeah, that's basically it. I've been a graphic designer most of my life. There was nothing wrong with that. I really loved doing that. But and that was I was making a living from it, feeding my family from it. So it was not something that I really didn't like. But my passion was drawing the figure, trying to understand the human figure at all. It wasn't necessarily female versus male. I did some portraits back in the day, but there's something I wanted to do. But what happens to me is I realized that I was not. I did not have what it took, the discipline it took to early on to leave everything and concentrate on my passion. That was my passion. I just didn't know it back then. So by the time I became 40 years old, I guess it's a like to say midlife crisis, so to speak, in which you think, okay, there's enough time. This is the things I need to do because I really have a passion for this or for that or whatever. I want to jump out of airplanes or what have you, or drive a fast car. For me, I've always wanted to do especially the female form, and I wanted to draw it convincingly but because I wasn't dedicated enough, I didn't have the time. You can, name excuse of or justification for it, right or wrong. The time wasn't there for me to put there, and the patience, right? Because it's like learning another language. It's not as easy as many people think. I drew here and there, but that the human figure is very complex, as you know, and so every time I tried, I started, getting into it, I was met with the typical, anatomy, it seems like Chinese, like a different language, like it's all foreign to me in that sense, right? So I was always met with maybe later. So when I hit 40, I realized there's not much. There's no later. This has to be done now. So I did quit everything pretty much. I did quit my practice of graphic design, and I embarked on this whole new trip, which was very rewarding. Hard, difficult as anything that you want to pursue with vigor, but it was, and in the end, it was very rewarding.
Mm.
But I didn't do. After I decided to do it, I wasn't doing any graphic design, or very little of it. If anything, for my own projects that I was doing, I used graphic design to kind of piggyback on the figure drawing.
Yeah.
So figure drawing and graphic design became one, because at the beginning I didn't know how to approach it. And then it became sort of my style or my signature to have that. At the beginning of my career, slowly I was evolving, and eventually it was turned more academic and more towards that end, because of the need to understand the human condition.
Yeah. It's a lot to learn, isn't it? And I mean, it's something which I've always tried to educate myself with, because I haven't been to any taught classes where I've been taught how to do it. I've just tried to learn by comparison with people who got further than I did within this span of time, and with this kind of need for an understanding of what I was looking at and how to try to capture what was important there. Now, I've not done nearly as much as you have, but what I've learned from, because I purchased your book, as you know, I have your book here in private.
I see that.
Yeah. And I'll show that on the screen whilst we're talking. I'll put that up on the screen. But one thing that I learned when I looked through your book is that the next time I went to a life drawing session, I thought I need to get more tone down. I need to make sure that I'm not being too fiddly with, the shadow there and the shadow there. I just thought, just get tone down, because the skin isn't pure white. You have this form, and you have these different planes of the body, and you need to describe that. So can you talk about like how you approach that? Because you have a real mastery of how to actually show curves and shapes and, different parts of the body. And can you talk about how you approach that?
Yeah, my approach originally was not much different than yours, because I think when you have a formal training and no one's telling you, okay, this is how you do it. These are the planes of the body. This is how, the tonal form goes right here. The form is not flat and it curves, and you have to depict that in this way and by doing this and that. So when you don't have that, there's a lot of trial and error. So my approach at the beginning was trying to using what I had in graphic design, basically flat colors, line mostly, right? When you do things, I created logos and graphics, what we call graphics, which is a really broad word for what we do, because there's a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's textures and whatnot, but I wasn't approaching it how academically. I wasn't toning. I wasn't using that. I wasn't using the side of the pencil to depict the different values. I wasn't doing any of that. It was all absolutely graphic and graphical, in a sense that it was more like a Japanese print making, ink on paper, and even the pencil was used as almost as a pen in a sense. It was all lines, right? So the very few tonal drawings that I had at the time, they were marred with mistake after mistake because I could not understand how the form and the planes of the, let's say, the face of the body, certain planes would turn and how to depict them. It was very difficult. So everything was flat. Everything was colored, not colored. Everything was flat in the tone, the graphite that I applied at the time, or even colored pencils. They were used almost as a I would dare say, just to adorn the things, just to lend a little bit of color, if you will. Even if it was graphite, just want to do that. Yeah, it really didn't have any depth. There was no volumetric, forms that wrapped around and you can see them. So the way I approach it now, coming back to your question, the way I approach it now since a few years back is it was a very slow process of experimenting with certain things that eventually worked. Mostly, the way I approach it now is by attacking the paper fully, like visualizing, kind of squinting your eyes a bit to grab what the darkest values are first. That's my way of doing it. And then I go after that first. So that's where you see in the book, blotches of real dark, pigment going in first, and then establishing the exactly. And that also establishes the tempo of the whole thing, the overall look. And then you go with the midtones and so on and so forth, and then you leave the paper to show through for the highlights, that sort of stuff. But I basically, the first thing I do is go for the darker values first. And if you spot that as a designer, you would know that you always try for balance, right? So not too heavy here, find where these areas are, like on the arm, under the chin, hair, whatever is darker, you go after that. And then that sets it frames the rest of the drawing, so to speak, for me, because we do it really quickly. The way what I basically do mostly, more than just, let's say, drawing or rendering, is gesture drawing, really quick, 1 minute, 5-minute drawings, 10-minute drawings. And I found that my best drawings, or what I like, the ones I enjoy the most and I like the most, are basically between 5 and 10 minutes. And anything over that, it seems a little bit contrived and a little bit not spontaneous, right? And I'm looking for that quick thrust of the body, that action line that animators like to call it. The thrust is what we say in academic talk. So that's basically what it is. First, to find the right angle, the action line, the thrust of the figure, the way that invisible line that supposedly we have in the art of movement, most often in the body. If I get that, that's fine. If the pose is kind of stiff in a way that there would no action lines to be had to find, then it's going to be it's going to be basically shape construction. Because if something is static, a pose that's kind of static, may not have this flow. So then a different approach is taken. But at the end, the idea is to have something that what we call volumetric, that there's weight to it, there's atmosphere around them. And even if you don't color the paper, even if you don't have an actual background to it, then you still are able to place the figure in space, in perspective, so it doesn't look lopsided in that. And that's the main goal, right? Because you know that if you're an artist, figure drawing, you know that that's one of the most difficult things to do. When you don't have a background to place the image, the figure in, it's difficult to have it look like it's actually in space, in place in the right, like the floor, something. So those are the challenges, but the approach is the same. Real quick gesture drawings, trying to capture the action rather than the likeness of the model.
That's brilliant.
Whatever the actor, the poser is doing, rather than conveying that, rather than to search for details and landmarks that will give you likeness, right? Because there's not much in there. What we're trying to capture is the essence of that particular post, if it's something valuable to you.
It's like a visual poetry you almost bring out of the source material, isn't it? So you're kind of looking at something which is obviously has its balance and has its form and its flow, and then you're finding a way to use that reference in a way which is communicating something a bit more kind of concentrated on the page, so that it doesn't have every subtle nuance, because it can be too much information to try to actually, describe the elegance of the model and of the pose, isn't it? That's part of the job.
You're absolutely correct. In the way, this is where academic drawing fails to a degree, in the strict sense of the word, right? Because most often what is taught and what we're after when we do academic art is to capture every single nuance of the subject, right? Every single detail, because the likeness is absolutely important. The proportions are important. Here, in my approach is way different, in the sense that I am concerned with proportions, somewhat correct proportions, but that is thrown to the wayside to a degree in exchange for life, for something that's lively, that has energy, that has some sort of force is coming out of that, right? Something that that as the artist, I don't know about the viewer, because that's not up to me to decide, right? But as an artist, what I'm looking for is that energy that I see in the pose and the person, and to try to convey that in some way or the other. And that way, usually it usually is with bold strokes, the least the better. So when you do that, obviously you're going to streamline stuff. You're not going to have all the details, so the little ins and outs and then nooks and crannies. You can't have all that stuff and still remain, vital and effusive and all that what we're looking for, right? It's difficult to have all the detail and convey the sense of power and energy.
Yeah.
It has to be bold. It has. Some people can do it. I'm sure people can do it, but the more detail you put into something, the more the eye of the viewer will wander. We would wander around and we go here and there. But if that's your goal, then fine. But there's something to be said about that. That people actually, if you're an artist, you want to do that. You want to create that. I've done that too as well. When a piece has lots of detail on purpose, so because you want to control the viewer's eye and you want to guide it through this, to that, and you want to make it get lost in this and that and the other thing. But in general terms, what I'm after personally is to basically please myself, and pleasing myself in my world is to get the energy out, suck the energy out of the pose, the the model or the subject, and see if I can extrapolate that on the paper. In other words, like you said at the beginning, there's this is the source material, whether live or photographic, it doesn't matter to me much. If I'm able to get that, and by exaggeration, by stylization, by whatever means, to get that and I don't know, make it threefold, fourfold, however much I can get out of that and make it explode. That's my thing. No, I don't think it's I think everyone would like that or whatever, but that's what I love doing. It's just getting the energy and just hoping to with these techniques of exaggeration and stylization and distilling the form to a few lines. To me, it brings me great joy to get more out of the pose, right? The pose is simply whether live or whatever. It's simply to me a jump start. Yes, it's just a place of for you to launch yourself. And yourself, if you're a shy person, possibly it's gonna be different, right? I'm not shy. Actually. I'm a risk taker. I've been all my life, so I think that comes with the personality, I guess. But that's what I like. What I want to do. Yeah.
Well, I can see this lovely image behind you over your right shoulder. I think it'll be.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful and elegant. It's so well balanced. The diagonal lines and having the elbow to kind of jut out in the other diagonal direction. All of these things just again. Yeah.
That's not mine. That's what I bought that one.
Oh, really?
It's a really, yeah. I love that. And that there's a story to that. We were my wife and I were walking into a place that's not known for this. It was a Chinese importer that deals with little trinkets, things, I don't know, keychains,
like souvenirs and things.
Things like that. And I saw that. I said, I gotta have that.
Yeah.
I can't even read the secret. I don't know. I'd like to know who did that. It's kind of fun, but that cost me like $5. And
really?
Yeah, it seems like it's not an original. It's a print, obviously, but it's printed on canvas somehow. So it looks really good. I like that. When I saw that, I said, I gotta have that. I don't have much art in my wall. Some of it's the opposite way where we're looking, but the drawings that I have, are usually old drawings. I haven't framed anything recently, but that one I really liked. I really like that one. It's not. I don't do much of those like on tone paper, but when I saw that, it's like, oh, I think I'm ready to do more of that. In the book, we have I have maybe good 10 on different color paper, tone paper, 10 or so. I don't remember exactly, but I don't do that many. And when I saw that, that's pretty.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing is that I wasn't sure whether it was yours or not, because looking through your book, there are different styles that you approach to do it, and that's what I really appreciate is the experimentation as well. Even though the majority
that could have been mine.
What's that?
That could have as well been mine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've been in modes of just like that, just having that and using white as a highlight and using the paper as a mid-tone. I've done things like that. So when I saw that, I felt really compelled to have it because it's right up my alley. Yeah, I like that. I could have done something similar to that in a way, in one of those days. Most of the stuff is really actually I had just a drawing. I don't know if you can see it, if I can show it to you, but I have a pile of drawings that I do every day with the students, and these are the ones I keep are my favorites. These are the quickest. The ones are really done really in a jest really fast, like usually 5-minute poses. These are all probably 5-minute poses. but they're absolutely quick. And some, this might be 10-minute poses, 7, 10. But these are, I have tons of that stuff everywhere. So much so that I'm actually looking to do 4 books a year. Now I'm looking for right now. I'm looking at a way to get that done, because so much of these quick drawings that I really enjoy, and there's some that I will take to finish like that, sort of like more. They will probably begin like this, and they end up more like that in a, maybe in a different paper or so. But I always say, ask the students, well, what is your number? When I say that, I mean, I think we all, when we draw really quick, when you do timepieces, time poses, you have, I think everyone has a particular number that they're comfortable with. Like some people say, 2 minutes, I come out with something decent. Me, I love 1 minute and 5 minutes. Like 5 minutes is I really love that. I think I get something out of it. That's really nice. Like most of these are 5 minutes. And most of the pieces in the book began as 5-minute pieces. And then eventually somehow I liked so much that I put some more time in it. But especially in the last section of the book where there's seconds of pleasure, which really is it's misnomer because it's not really seconds, unless you count 1 minute pieces as like 60 seconds, right? But the main thing is to get the gesture really fast, get it as fast as you can, so you can get that burst of energy and that action line we're talking about. And then once you have that, if you are able to add more crap to it, to more rendering and more pigment, shadow, depth a little bit, or if you can get that in there, that information there, without ruining the quick burst of energy that piece had in the 1 minute that you did.
Yeah.
That's a challenge for me personally, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes it happens. Sometimes you see it, and especially in the book, you'll see some pieces that took a long time, but they all started as 5-minute pieces, 5-minute drawings. Yeah, most of them, or 1 minute even, right? And there's one particular section where I happen to have the 1 minute available. For some reason, that session was a 1 minute, we did like 20 or 1 minute. And then somehow I kept those for whatever reason. Usually I throw them out, they're not that good. But I have them, and when I was making the book, I found them. And I have found the same poses that I used in a totally different session. They were like 10-minute pieces, 5-minute, 10-minute pieces. So when I found those, I scanned them in and then I forgot about them. And now I was saying, so I was looking for material for the book. I found these same things, and one was a 1 minute, and the other one was, so they're in the book, and I love that section the most. I think I like that section the most because you see the burst of energy that they go, lines are going everywhere. It's like, and then you see the opposite page. You see the same pose, and you can hardly recognize it because it's more worked up. There's more stuff to it. But I think on those I managed to keep the essence of the original pose. And some I fail, obviously, you fail all the time. But when it does happen, it's really cool because I wasn't aware of the 1 minute that existed there, right? Yeah. So when I found them, and then I said, oh wait, I remember that pose. Then I see the somewhat completed finished version, and I managed to. Also, I did something in the book that was counter to that. Absolutely, it was I call it backwards engineering, which is people say they had there's a name for that, right? It's reverse engineering, but I call it backwards engineering because the drawings were already made. The drawings were probably a 10-minute pose that turned into a 30-minute drawing, and that was already there. And then I felt the need to wait a minute. I never did a 1 minute post of this. So in the book, I to help fill up that section, I actually did a few of the drawings after the fact. So we're already done, and then I did a really quick one out of, to see what would be like, and you learn a lot from that, because then you'll realize, okay, I put so much on this piece, and it turns out a quick gesture, a 2 minute gesture, 5 minute gesture, it's actually really, really cool. And side by side, they kind of tell stories. It's kind of cool.
Mm.
So we break the rules all the time, right?
Now, one thing that I have kind of felt when I looked through Line and Mass, which I love that title, by the way, just fantastic title for life drawing. It describes everything that's essential, really. And then there's a thing which is kind of, if I were to describe to someone what your style is like, I'd say it almost makes the model look like a supercar, kind of like it's sleek and it's got this sheen to it, and it's beautiful. It's almost like the model's been oiled up before they kind of model for you, because it has this kind of, you can feel that kind of that kind of light and shadow, that balance. It's almost like a chiaroscuro or something, where you're kind of really trying to capture the drama and the essence of the atmosphere and the environment. Is that something which, like, do you have specific tools that are your favorites, or is it whatever's to hand? Because I have like charcoal sticks that are, well, I use soft pastels sometimes as well, like these type of grayscale soft pastels, but I'll try to use that first and then go to something more precise to refine it afterwards. What's your way of approaching that?
My through the years, I've used many different things, and the one that works for me in most of the book, I would dare say half of the book, the part where I start using graphite instead of the color pencils. Those are all pretty much, I would dare say 60% of that is done with this, and I just holding this. Not didn't mean to this was not programmed. I just had this because that's the only pencil I use regularly.
Yeah,
I have a bunch of stuff that I mess around with, but this one is a Mars Lumograph Black, right?
I have.
It's not much different than the Lumograph is some kind of mineral carbon type of thing. I don't even know what that is. They say carbon, but carbon can be anything. They can be out of vegetables or mineral or rocks. Yeah. But I don't know what the actual thing is. But my very favorite of tools is the charcoal pencil, the medium to soft. This brand is really good, the General brand. I really love this.
What's the brand, sorry?
This is Generals. It's called the Generals. I don't know if you can even see that.
Okay, Generals.
This has been through, I don't know if I have one. Now, the thing gets erased. Oh, here it is. I don't know if you can see it. General Charcoal.
Ah, yeah, you can see that. Fantastic.
Yeah,
thank you.
This is my ultimate favorite of all pencils. You have soft, medium, and hard, and all kinds of things in between. The 6B is my favorite. Now it does things like this, right? It does things. It has a rich black because it's charcoal, so you can't top that. But the next best thing is this little guy that I found a few years ago. My wife bought this for me. I never knew it existed. It's of the family of these guys who are very popular. This blue, Stadler Lumograph, right? They sell these a lot because I used to have them. Yeah. But these are graphite, and these are that carbon thing that they talk about. So before this existed, this whole line of Lumograph Black, which is different than the blue one. Those are graphite. This is that carbon thing. Now they make, a few years ago, they started making a line just of this type of material. So I don't even care for the other nomenclature, the different they have from 2B to 8B.
Mm.
But the you don't need anything other than the AB in reality, because there's nuance to this. If you go soft, and you can get that, that soft tones, but you can definitely get a very rich black with this.
Yeah.
That is, it's basically as close as you can get to the charcoal pencil, right?
Mm.
Which is different than the charcoal vine, the because that is soft and that's different, that's erasable. The only issue with these, and it's a big issue for many artists, is like this you cannot erase. This is unerasable or very close to it. Like
Yeah.
if you even go really hard on it and try to pick up stuff, you're definitely going to get a ghost. This is not going to pick up the whole thing. The charcoal, the vinous is absolutely erasable. You can move it, you can just wipe it with your finger. And the pencils are not that much erasable. You can pick up a lot. This guy is unforgiving. So, and I like that in the sense, like it's almost like burning your bridges, so to speak. Like, you're like, that there's no return from this. So there's that sense of urgency that you're going to get with this. It's a high, right? But at the same time, you messed up and it's kind of, it's difficult to go back in there.
Yeah.
And yeah. And the marks that the messing up is actually rather nice, because you're looking, searching, and that kind of stuff is there. Like, for instance, I have something absolutely that I really like, and it was really quick drawing, but you can tell the marks the dark marks are going first. Like, let's say that. You see, right? Where and that is absolute black and absolute matte. This is not shiny at all. This is not graphite.
Matte. Yeah.
So, right, matte. You want that because the charcoal is matte. It's just, but this is the closest thing to this without the mess. All right, without the mess, because charcoal is messy. You put your hand in there, you just rub it the wrong way, and it's over.
Yeah.
Really difficult to get, right? But this is less messy, a lot less messy. And as you can tell, right, this is me pushing and showing and getting in there. And you can tell that there's not a lot of smudging and a lot of stuff, but charcoal makes it a little difficult to do. It's charcoal has a better quality to it, right? It's more human when you do the flesh tones. It is almost human. That's why charcoal is the king. But this is very close, and this is really good for quick gesture drawings. It's another one here, which is very close to this. I could have done that with charcoal, or could have, but it would be different. This is very, to me, it's very finite. It's very like boom, it's right there.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want that. Most often, I think you want that. Not that you necessarily, as an artist, would want that effect all the time. As you see in the book, there's many ways to skin a cat, so to speak. But that what I like the most is like in the gesture drawings, the quick ones. And there, when I want that, I capture the form in just a quick strokes. There's nothing better than that pencil, because it doesn't break easily either. When you're using a soft 6B charcoal, there could be some breakage, right? Especially if you get the point really long, like you need it that long. There's going to be a lot of breakage. This is like a workhorse. I go really hard on this. I go, and whilst you're gonna press to get really thick and black, almost pitch black lines, you're gonna feel it. How hard that is, as opposed to the soft nature of the charcoal, and you're not gonna end up with soot, all over yourself, the charcoal everywhere, even in your nose. This is, in that sense, this is a workhorse. I highly recommend this pencil to anyone. It is hard to, because it's finite, it's there, and it's hard to erase. But it's, if you want to do gestural drawings, really quick, 5-minute poses, even 10-minute poses, you could actually use that, and it's very enjoyable. because you get that black, rich black tones, definite black, and then you get the texture that I love. Oh, you're gonna be surprised by what I'm about to tell you. All of these drawings that I do, and the seemingly really nice texture that you can see there. I don't know if that it's you could if that conveys and
Yeah.
that stuff is actually drawn on the cheapest copy paper you can find.
Really?
Absolutely. The way I came up to this, I think an artist friend at one point posted something like this. I just use real copy paper because these are throwaway drawings, supposedly, right? But not for me, because I keep a lot of these because I really love them. And like for something like this, who have been done on at a larger scale on newsprint, which is really cool because it takes graphite charcoal really well, right? The problem with that is that you can't sell that drawing because it's on newsprint, and sometimes it fades away.
Yeah,
the paper is so crappy. These are I don't know what's in this paper, the fiber, the inkjet coating that they put there, but as you can see, most of my book, the last part of the last 3 sections, basically are done on cheap copy paper. And the reason why I bought it was because now I was teaching, now I was training artists, and I couldn't afford to have my good paper devoted to this quick things that we will have to trash or we don't. These are not going to be hanged somewhere or being in a book. But they all ended up in the book. Most of them ended up in the book because the paper it takes so much pounding and it gives you this nice texture. So there you go. Figure that out. So now but there's also the issue of when some people bought originals from me, and I warned them, this are very thin papers. And I got one friend that said to me, I got your drawing and I can see through the whole thing. It's like the light it's so thin. It's like, what paper is this? And I told him, it's this cheap copy paper. Like, what? Dude, come on, spend some money on some good, decent paper. And I'm sure there's probably a satin-like paper with some coating that actually, but I love the way it scans. If you have the book, you know what I'm talking about. It scans beautiful, and it seems like it was drawn. If you look at those drawings, you might think, oh, well, that's a special paper that Alberto is using. So cheap copy paper. I got reams of them. There's a company that makes them in Spain. Norma is big. You know this because in Europe, Norma is really big. It's an editorial house, right?
Yeah.
Really big. And Norma makes this paper. I don't know how they make it or who makes it, but they have this. Which I'll show you the box if I can. They have it here. And I can't get enough of this guy. This is the paper. Yeah. Norma editorial. So white paper. That's all there is.
Yeah.
So there is. Doesn't say anything, but I know it's inkjet. I think.
I have a stash myself. That's I don't know if you can see on my shelf there, but that's where I keep my print paper as well. So I do know the joys of using just cheap printer paper. It's
you should, if you haven't tried it, you should give it a shot with this particular pencil or with charcoal. You get some amazing results, and this is where I go. This in my view, where I differ from the academic field, right? I'm not bound by any conventions, including the academic, in the sense I'm not saying, oh, I'm a rebel, but in the sense that because I work for print, because I was a graphic designer and an illustrator in my past life, my goal is the finished page, is the printed page, that's the ultimate goal. Whereas the artist, typical academically trained, informal trained artist, is looking at this as the ultimate, the canvas, the paper, that he wants good paper, good Fabriano paper, whatever, Canson, whatever, because he wants that to last. He wants that to be the thing, right? And rightfully so. This is the art. That's the piece. You go and you look at it in your mind. I'm not concerned with that, and this is where perhaps I get a little bit more freedom to mess around and to experiment, because as an illustrator, a graphic designer, what you do is you work for the result for print. So when you work for print, the end result, when you actually pick up the magazine, that is at that resolution, at that whatever situation led to that piece being, that wouldn't work any other way. In other words, that was meant to be printed at that size. If you enlarge it, it's not going to look good, or may not. If you make it smaller, but we work for that. It's optimized for that, right? If you ever work on anything for print, you know that, right? If your job was to illustrate or to design something, that's the ultimate goal. So even if it looks like crap, and the original is nothing for me. It doesn't have any value, me personally, right? Well, as the artists and people in general, they place a lot of value on the original piece. Rightfully so. It's something done by hand. You should cherish it and care for it, because it was made by human. But not that I don't care for it, but that's not my goal. My goal is to create something, and that will be either printed or finalized, and it would look great, as great as I can possibly make it, beautiful as I can make it, but for that purpose. So for me, I work for the book. Well, the guy says to me, we need 400 pages. I go, what? So 400 pages, okay, so let's get to draw. And I'm thinking all the time, this is how this is going to print. And some of the originals, people might get the originals and go, oh shit, this is slightly different than what I got, what's in the book. And you look at the original and go, well, there's some differences here. I personally, it's not my thing. I don't feel obligated towards the finished piece. You know what I mean? The actual thing.
Yeah.
But the book, the final thing, that is what remains. To me, that is the ultimate in that sense. But not to say that these are different that much, but for me, but I work for the scan. The scan has to be great. If there's some crap there that needs to be maybe a thumbprint or something that's not that deters and obscures the intention, then I'll take it. If it's something that as much as something that lends value to the thing, I leave it there, right? That's some stuff. Yeah. So I might even, if I see as much, I'm like, oh, whoa, that looks good. I might even go further and smudge it even further to perhaps add more value to it. Because the goal is for me, the print. So that's where I differ perhaps with any other artist that works towards the original, right? I really don't have that much value to it, me personally. Yeah. Not that it doesn't, and you shouldn't care for it, right? Because somebody's gonna buy it and hang it somewhere, right? So it needs to be good. But you know what I'm saying? I'm a different animal in that sense. My worry and my efforts are towards the final print, the final image. Yeah. And also by the same token, if I may, the fact that I only work, I don't have themes. There are no recurring themes in my work. There's nothing. There's no content really. Content as per this means this and it has a meaning.
Yeah, there's no narrative.
No, there's no narrative. Absolutely none at all. Now, what as Oscar Wilde said once, the viewer will go and find something at their peril. If they want to visit that, you go in there and find a narrative or a theme or feelings or something. That's absolutely entire, and then and the drawings may speak to them. The art may speak to them in a different. But to me, I don't have that. I don't put that. Doesn't mean that I'm a soulless vacuum of of love and devoid of all of feelings or anything. But that's not my intention. My intention is to convey, to express myself in that manner, and not necessarily convey feelings of, oh, this is. Some people actually write to me and say, like, oh, that drawing on page 65 or whatever. It's like, that is absolutely sublime, the way that she's looking at this. I'm thinking, that's not what I meant. I was just trying to get that, capture the gesture, the moment, whatever she was doing. And something came out, and it was okay, and it may mean something else to you, but there's on my end, there's no intention. So if somebody was like thinking, I got all my, can convey some feeling into some emotions, it's not my aim. But if it happens, that's okay. It's fine. I'll take it.
That's excellent. Well, I mean, I could talk to you for another hour at least, but I'm going to wrap it up now and ask you, where is it you'd like people to go to support your work, to see your artwork? Is there social media? Is there exhibitions? Where can they purchase the book? Where would you like people to go?
Yeah, no, because of the nature of my work, I'm not going to be ever invited to galleries or exhibitions or anything like that. That's not going to happen. And not that and if it did, that would be fine. But my experience is that I'm of no use to galleries or anything like that because of the nature of what I do. Because I don't care for the final art piece, and it's a much of a graphic design than it is academic drawing for me, right? It's a blend of some sort, and the theme itself it lends to not the gallery stuff. So they can definitely, if people are interested in my work and they want to purchase these drawings or my book, they can definitely look me up on Instagram. That's probably my favorite, but I'm on Facebook as well. So same thing, you can type in Alberto Ruiz art and I'll be on Instagram, and Facebook is easy. I'm pretty easy to find. There's also threads on Instagram. I don't know if that's going to do anything, but I'm by default added to that. So that's basically it. I have a Twitter, but I never go there. I don't remember the last time I was there.
Well, I didn't realize you're on Threads, so I'll follow you on Threads. I tried to make sure.
Yeah, we'll hook up for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I'd love to have you on the channel again as well. I really want to do, instead of a podcast, doing a conversation about the studio, about the philosophy a bit more, and because you're just a wealth of knowledge and information, and I love your personality behind it all. It's great.
Oh no, anytime you want. That this was delightful to be talking with you, and the questions that you pose that definitely forces you to look within, and you learn more of yourself than you would know. So I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Okay, that is the episode done. I thought he was a fantastic guest. I really loved the way that he spoke about things. Really made me laugh a lot of the time because of how he would explain things, how passionate he is about different parts of his practice. And I know that he's just a wealth of information. So I'm going to tap into that and make sure that him and I create this series. We've already discussed it, and I don't know how many parts it's going to be, but I'm going to start trying to plot it out so that we can structure some kind of series so that he can flesh out his instruction and his thoughts and views and his kind of experience in figure drawing, or as we call it in the UK, life drawing. I love his work. I think it's so varied. It goes from experimental to very classical and academic. Beautiful work. I have his book here, and I mentioned that in the episode. I will leave a link in the description of this video to support Alberto on his Instagram account. I'll see if I can find his Facebook. I couldn't find it on a quick search, but I'll try to find that. So the Facebook should be linked in there, as well as the link to purchase his book, which I encourage you to do. It's well worth looking at. I really enjoy it myself, and it's encouraged me to push my life drawing into a better, higher standard than it is currently. So that's it for this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next episode.